Hello, and welcome to Shepack Unleashed. I'm one of your hosts, Tania.
I'm Nichole. Welcome to your weekly dose of candid discussion and the pursuit of finding your tribe in this journey of motherhood, womanhood, and sisterhood.
I'm Ashley. Join us as we leave no stone unturned. In each episode, we have heart-to-heart conversations that aim to challenge and empower one another.
I'm Jenny. No more waiting. Shepack Unleashed begins now.
On this episode, scheduling kids. How much is too much? Bum, bum, bum. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be like a hot debate topic.
Yeah, I think we're a house divided on this one.
I think you're all against me. I think is what it is.
I hope that we don't look at it as a against it. We have different perspectives, but we also respect the fact that we have very different families.
Mm-hmm. So let's remind everybody, for our audience listening, how many kids each of us have and what ages they are, because I think this is going to be relevant in the like scheduling conversation, right? So I have 2 kids, boys, 8 and 5.
I also have 2 boys, 8 and 5.
I have a boy and a girl. My eldest is 9 now, and the little just turned 5.
My guy is 9.
Yeah.
And approaching 10.
That's wild. We'll have to have a big party.
Literally can't.
Yeah.
My God.
So I have a theory that 30 minutes from now, we're going to wrap this all up and say, like, it depends on the kid, which is the same conversation we had about schools. And I think that's kind of what I'd leave with here is I always thought like I'd be a soccer mom. I had like the things ready. Beto loves soccer. I like watching soccer. And we tried to be like one time a week. And like my kiddo didn't love it. And my goal actually was that I wanted him, and now I have a second, but I wanted him to be like good enough at sports that he wasn't embarrassed in gym class, but not so good he had to travel. That was like the sweet spot I was aiming for. And I have failed miserably, but he is so happy. So.
And ultimately, I think that's what matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jenny, what do your kids do for extracurricular activities?
Yeah. So my son does diving. He started that actually when he was 5 because he was always swimming. So both of my kids swam before they could walk. And we took that very seriously from a safety perspective. So when they were little, it was swimming. Like that was it. That was what they did. But he met the Duke diving coach who lived in our old neighborhood where we used to live. And he just thought he was the coolest thing, like the flips he would do. And then there was another neighbor there who turned out in later years to be an Olympian in diving. And he just thought they were doing the coolest stuff. And he wanted to do what they did. He's also a very sensory seeking kid. And so I decided if he was going to be jumping off the edge of a concrete pool and flipping, that he should do it with a coach near a major hospital.
I mean, that is so pretty solid.
And never in a million years did I even know that was a thing kids could do. But here locally at Duke University, they have a program and it just kind of grew from there. He used to go once a week on Saturdays, but I found that when I picked him up, he was more grounded, like in his body, more like present. It's really hard to describe, but there's something about the swimming, I think just tires anybody out because they're going up a ladder, jumping off, swimming, going up a ladder, jumping, but also just like probably the spinning or the sensory that is really good.
Well, and the bouncing, not only on the board, obviously, because that's only a small part, but the trampoline is a really, really useful tool for him to get that input.
And during COVID in particular, when everything was shut down, it really made it crystal clear for me. He was miserable. I think we were having so many more behavior problems at the house because 1, he was anxious to leave the house, and 2, like he just needs more. And so his behavior is greatly improved when he goes. Now there is a flip side of that. Right now he's getting like pretty good. And there have been lots of conversations we've had about last year he was like invited to regionals and we said, no, thank you. Or he was invited this year to go dive in Florida. No, thank you. So like trying to do it enough that it still brings him joy and is good for him, but not so much that it becomes like his only thing he does has been a struggle.
So how often does he go to practice? When are the meets? Like, what is your schedule like? And what have you had to change to like get that around?
So currently he goes twice a week for 2 hours.
Oh my God, 2 hours?
Yeah, the first hour is like gymnastics, basically. They call it dry land, trampolines, like stretching, handstands,
Do they put him in a harness, like on the trampoline? Put him in a harness,
and then the second hour is in the pool. So he goes Thursday nights from 5:30 to 7:30, and then every Saturday afternoon, 12:30 to 2:30. That is the minimum to be in part of the diving club, is twice a week.
So is that the only thing he does?
For a while, that was the only thing he does from an athletic point of view. However, my child loves to sign up for everything. So in the summer, he does swim team, but we also diving takes a little bit of a break sometimes. There's a bit of an overlap.
Swim team is an almost
really
daily.
intense for 6 to 8 weeks. His choice. And then in January, he signed up for like rec basketball. And I was like, please don't. Like, I just wanted one night to myself. But he was so insistent that I was like, okay. And he loved it. And that was 6 weeks. So we do kind of follow him. But I was trying for it to just be one thing at a time. Now, mind you, he also sees an OT regularly. For a while, he was doing vision therapy. So sometimes it's not always athletics that eat up our schedule. And I'm the only parent to drive them all around. So
In the evenings, yeah.
that's not even counting Luna.
Yeah, I was like, that's just
Right.
cruise. So then like we talk about your second one, like what activities is she doing and how are you like sort of coordinating both of those?
It's a struggle. So she is finishing up swim and she'll do summer swim. She enjoyed that. But her thing that she seems to really love is dance. And so to date, this is her 3rd year now. She goes to dance once a week. It's an hour.
Okay, that's not too bad.
And then she has one recital a year, Father's Day weekend. But next year, because she'll be in kindergarten, the like scheduling's different. I was looking at it and it's like you sign up for tap and then you can pick how many like segments you want, but they're all 30 minutes. And there's tap, ballet, tumbling, jazz, hip hop. And I'm like, oh Lord. So we're going to have to be really thoughtful about like how we or what we sign up for. Because I want to follow her in what she's interested in. But like, I also want them to be kids to like play and ride their bike and, you know.
But even
have
those
some
activities
freedom.
are still something you have to like supervise.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There is something to be said about that. Like I can take them to ballet and sit and work in the front office and not have
Right.
to like actively watch. So
Yeah. So
there's
who else has kids in lots of activities?
Nope.
It's just me. It's just
All right, Ashley, so what does it look like for your kiddos?
We've tried doing activities. Like Jenny's kids, both my kids did survival swim very young. Calvin did it right before COVID. Derek did it at the beginning of COVID. Calvin was really good at swimming, like really, really good. So he was doing like advanced stroke classes and all that. And it got to a point where it was like, do you want to join a swim team? And he did not. We ended up having to do his lessons on like a Sunday night for like one session. And it was such a battle to get him to go. He just like meltdown, didn't want to go and having to go to school the next morning. Like it was a whole thing. And it was not worth the emotional distress he was going through because he wasn't having fun anymore if he was being made to do it like that. So yeah, we stopped swimming there. He still loves it just like for fun. I mean, he's happy in a swimming pool. Derek has since mostly forgotten to swim, but thinks he can swim. So that's real fun, safety wise. But other than that, like we offer, and there's not really an interest. Like my kids aren't athletic, really.
But Calvin is very artistic and has won some awards. Like
Correct. Yes. He's won some awards. He currently has a piece in an art show going all year in one of the administrative buildings. So we haven't found like an artistic thing for him to do yet. But he's also expressed that he doesn't want to do extracurriculars like that. He wants to come home. He's got homework now this school year. So I've asked him, like, what if you did something after school? He's like, but then my homework, and then I'm not going to have time to like read. And he also likes to read. He's an avid reader. So yeah, for him, he'd rather do those kinds of quieter, sit down, independent type of things.
Makes
And that's what brings
scheduling
him joy.
easier, too.
It does, yeah, because we don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff. And even if either kid expressed an interest, we would have a pretty much prohibitive, like not able to do it because just weeknight evenings are not available for us. And with school being so early too, we go to bed really early because the kids are up at 6 a.m.
does the school offer anything like after school? Like our
Nope.
school has clubs or soccer shops come in.
We've looked at that. They offer like some kind of music class, but you have to have previous experience with the instrument. They don't like teach you from scratch. So that was a bummer when we found that out. There's like a robotics and coding kind of thing, but he still doesn't want to do it after school. Like he wants to come home, do his homework, maybe play a game, read, and like have family time. Like family time is like his thing right now. So that's just what his preference
so
is.
different.
Fair.
Like Cruz's school have so many after, and he would sign up for them all if I would let them. He wants to do like robotics and cooking and tennis.
To fall in the middle and maybe closer like to Ashley's family and side of things because so we only have the one kiddo, first of all, right? So we don't have to juggle multiple schedules of extracurriculars. So that in and of itself helps to alleviate some of the pressure on that. So my son is 9. We have tried a slew of different sports with him, right? He has done the rec league soccer, t-ball, now baseball. We've did the summer swim. Jenny's family got us into that, and we really did enjoy that. I might have enjoyed it the most of our whole family, just saying. But I think him having a buddy there absolutely helped. My son very much will do things if his buddies are doing them. And I don't know if that's an only child thing. I mean, I guess some only children might be more independent. He is not as outgoing in that way. Like he wants a little bit of that comfort zone buffer, right? That takes away some of the anxiety for him, I think, of trying new stuff. But I will say, like baseball, he's taken to, but we've found ourselves in this constant like rotation because he'll do one season of it and he's like, yeah, I'm good. But I personally feel strongly about at least doing one thing for him. So I am probably the instigator in expecting him to do a sport. Now, we did take a break. After summer swim, we didn't expect him to do fall sports. We were like, okay, cool. Like we'll focus on school and just kind of insulate a little bit, right? But after seeing like he's not sleeping as well as when he does sports, you know, and moving his body because he is a video game kid through and through. And it's one of those things where I love playing video games. I personally play video games. I love playing with him. We play as a family. And so it's not one of those things where I view it as like, I don't want him to play video games. But for him, it can become an all or nothing very quickly. Like it's all he wants to do. He will forego going outside to play with his friends. And we have had, you know, done some OT work with him because he, you know, had some core weakness and some other things that we were working on with him physically that is obvious the benefits that being physically stronger and developing those muscles more will help him in many different areas of life. And so I felt like it was really important to require that of him. And so I have had varying moments of strength in that opinion, right? Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing because we have had those like meltdown moments where he doesn't want to go, but it's literally because he has to turn off the video game. It's not because he doesn't want to swim or he doesn't want to play baseball, because once he's there, he has a great time. And so that's where my struggle has come in with like, how much do you push for your kids to be involved versus following their lead, right? And so we've kind of taken the approach of like following his lead in terms of what the activity is, but the expectation is kind of there that it's like
one thing.
Let's do one, right? And then that way there's a practice a week and a game on a weekend. But we selfishly like to have our weekends free. Like I don't want my weekends stacked with all the things. Yep. And I feel selfish in that, but I obviously am not alone in that either. And I see some families who do travel sports and things like that, and it becomes all consuming.
Yeah, I wonder when they spend time together.
Well, I mean, I see
driving 6 hours.
I see some families that they literally are houses divided. Like if there's 2 kids and they're, you know, or more, and they go in different directions, like for a couple of years, you pass in the night.
Well, even now we do a lot of house divided between our 2 kids and their activities. Like Steve and I will divide and conquer.
Yeah, so Nichole, what does it look like for your family?
Yeah, so I was with my first child, I was very like, you are going to be in all the things. Like,
because you're a joiner.
I'm a joiner. I want to be in all the things. So he's going to be in all the things. We started with swim lessons when he was like 4 months old. Okay, he is like almost 9 and really can't swim. Like this child has had swim lessons.
It was not his thing.
It is not his thing. He looks like a drowning dolphin. Like, I mean, literally cannot swim, okay? He's been in hundreds of swim lessons, okay? Then we tried soccer. Total disaster. Then we tried t-ball. Again, another disaster. Like he sat out in the field. Like,
was it an interest engagement level thing? Was it a coordination level barrier?
All of the above.
All the above.
All of the above.
I mean, if you don't have some natural aptitude for it, it's no fun.
He has no natural aptitude whatsoever to any like sort of sports activities. And I was like, oh, but like neither am I, but like you'll be fine. It'll be fun. Nope.
Maybe when he's like 25, he'll play kickball like you and Steve.
Yeah, he loves kickball, right? But then I was like, okay, so he's not really into sports. So like I'm going to put him in drama club. So like he loves to dress up. He loves to like do movies like with his nanny before in the past when we had a nanny for COVID. I was like, put him in drama club. He got kicked out. Okay. So like not his thing, not his thing. So I have literally put him in like every single sport on the face of the planet, every activity. And he's very much a video game kid also, would much rather prefer to be playing video games. So now his activities are, we're starting horseback riding lessons. I know Jenny's like so excited. She has lots of questions that I don't have any answers to.
Yeah, we
but
need to talk.
He's starting horseback riding lessons because he was also diagnosed with ADHD and clinical depression. And so the idea that horseback riding is going to be like more therapeutic for him.
Therapy.
Yeah. He's also in speech therapy and OT. So it's like he is in all these other therapies too. He's lots of appointments. And then he also takes Mandarin lessons he's been taking for a few years at school. So this is also the thing that kind of kills me. I pay for him to go to aftercare at school. And then at aftercare, they pull him out to do Mandarin lessons. And I pay for Mandarin lessons.
Oh, double dipping.
Above
So like,
beyond.
above and beyond.
At our clubs, we pay for the clubs, but then they don't charge us for after school that day.
They're two different organizations.
No, I know. So if we pay for a club, they don't pay for that. We don't
But
pay for the hours of after
the Mandarin lesson is not the full time of aftercare.
I see.
It is.
Oh, so you can't like sub a day out.
Yeah. So it's like he goes aftercare for like 30 minutes.
Oy.
And then they take him for Mandarin lessons. And then they finish Mandarin lessons and they go back to aftercare for probably another 30 minutes.
But he really likes Mandarin.
He really does like Mandarin. He wants to go to China. And he's really excited about horseback riding. We'll see how that goes. We have not attended a lesson yet. But so for him, I really did try to get him into everything. And it was pretty much an utter fail on our part.
I don't know if it was a fail, like not to unintentionally like, invalidate what you're saying, but like both you and Tania tried so many things. So like your kids can say they've tried it and they didn't like it instead of just being obstinate and like, no, I don't want to do it.
It's easy to feel like a failure.
Because
when
it's like, how much
like
are you also saying that like, nobody's good at anything the first time they do it. And I just let him continue to like try and quit each activity versus forcing him to stick it out and see if he likes it.
I don't know. I think you as a parent, like just from the outside, like I would trust your judgment as a parent if you can tell this is feeling down about himself, but there's something there, or just like it's not really his thing.
Yeah. So then with my second, who was very much in the like, didn't do any of those things a lot because he was COVID like at the start of those ages, but actually has a real aptitude for sports. He's like a sports kid and wants to play the sports. So on the opposite end, I haven't like got him in as many things because like I'm afraid.
Daredevil kid. Like,
yeah.
He's going to be riding like dirt bikes
I
and
know.
going off ramps and like doing.
But also he's good at sports. And I've like hesitated putting him in more sports because I'm afraid he's going to end up in that travel like into the sports. And so like I knew there was no way Evan is going to get there. So like it was safer to put him into like the rec stuff versus.
I think you should channel that energy somewhere because in the absence of that, like he is going to continue to be a daredevil at home and like could get hurt. And I think it's a safer place. Like even if it is bike riding, and I'm making this up, like there are places you can go. My neighbors take her kids where like they can learn and have a community and grow. And I would push, in my opinion, I think that is really important to
learn to do it right.
Learn to
safely.
do it right.
Kind of like you did with the diving stuff.
And I talk a lot to crews about like your brain right now is developing, right? It literally develops from back here by your neck and like forward. And whatever you do now, whatever you practice, those neural pathways will be stronger. So if you spend a lot of time on video games, which he does sometimes, you're going to get really good at that. If you spend a lot of time swimming, you're going to get really good at that. And so what is it you want to do now so that becomes easier for you later? And I was pretty athletic as a kid, but I didn't do all of the things. And then later when everybody else was so good, I was like mad. I was like, oh, I wish I would have started when I was younger. I would be so much better.
Yeah. So he's in. So he did soccer and t-ball and all the things. And our new next door neighbor, his son is super athletic also. And his father is also super like into it. So like they're out in the cul-de-sac having like throwing lessons and doing things together.
That's really nice.
But it's good because like it's not me. Like I'm not the one that's going to teach you how to throw a ball. Like I can really walk down the street. Like I'm not throwing a ball for you. But now he's in tennis lessons and t-ball and like then he's
already stacking.
He's already stacking. So we have tennis Mondays, t-balls Tuesdays. The games start on Saturdays. He wants to do basketball.
Does he like them all equally?
Yeah. Yes.
Is he equally good at all of them?
Yes.
Yikes.
I know. He's
I mean that
good.
the most loving
I know.
way.
He's good at all the sports. And then he's like, well, Evan's taking horseback riding lessons. I want to do horseback riding lessons.
This is Cruz. Like
Right.
he wants to do all the clubs. He wants to do all the things. He wants to do music lessons. He wants to do piano. He wants to do it all.
Right. And the thing is Cole is good at everything he tries. So like, it's not like I can necessarily hone him into one
Right.
thing. Right. And then when he's not, he wants to be riding his bike and now he's doing like tricks on his bike and like, oh God.
I know a lot of parents who just do the rec like schedule. I think Tania, you were kind of on that where
Yeah.
I think it's the fall, maybe soccer, and then the winter
There's
is
like a fall, summer,
basketball,
and then there's
and then
spring. Well, yeah, we
spring
don't
is
even
baseball, and then summer is swim, and like that's enough once a week for them. You know,
It's,
there's
yeah, it's
the
usually
world-
like twice a week because there's a practice during the week and then like the games are on the weekends or something from the at least the rec leagues that we've participated in.
But
I
even
remember
if
doing
we
it as a
just
kid.
did rec leagues for soccer for my two kids, they would probably have 2 different practice times. during the
Absolutely.
week.
Right.
And
They
then
did.
Saturday, 2 different games, which means I am at the field probably half a day or all day.
Well, that's how it was last
It's a
year.
big
Last with
commitment.
us, both kids. So Evan did not play t-ball when we signed up. I signed up Cole for t-ball and I said, Evan, do you want to play baseball? And he said, no, I don't want to play baseball. So then we went to the baseball games and he was all pissed off that he didn't get to play baseball. And I was like, you said no. So
That's
then
a
when,
life lesson.
yep. So then when soccer rolled around, I was like, who wants to sign up for soccer? Both signed up for soccer. Okay. So that meant we had this first I got the rec league soccer thing and they were on different nights. I called and was like, can you change their teams so that they're practicing on the same nights? Because like I can't be coming here 16 bajillion times a night.
Is
Like
it at the same place?
it's at the same place.
Okay.
So I had the coaches literally move one of their teams to a different team that practiced a different night. But then they had games and one game would be at 9 a.m. The next game would be at 12 p.m.
Yep.
And it was like
Because
so
they're in very different age ranges.
such
So
different
hard.
age
Mhm.
ranges. So we were at the soccer field on Saturdays for like half a day. Like, and I was like, oh God. So, but then it comes into like, that's what they want to do. And like, there's also the financial part of it. I try to explain to them. This costs a lot of money
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
to do this and not like Mandarin lessons and horseback riding lessons. And
These are not cheap hobbies.
Even
Like,
just for
Right.
the rec league, good old soccer and baseball, right? Because they're growing so fast, they outgrow their
Right.
equipment from season to season.
New cleats.
So you
every
can't even
year.
reuse it from season
Cole
to
asked
season.
to play golf. I was like, you want to do what?
Oh,
Oh,
there's
that's
really
a good idea,
cool-
actually, for him.
It is. There's a really
Long-term
cool
career.
mommy and me golf lesson that I've been wanting to sign up
No,
for
thank
with
you.
Luna. What if
Oh, at
me and
Knight's
you did
Play.
it with? It's not forever. It's not year round. It's short. What if me, you, Luna, and Cole did it together?
I have some clubs that might work for Cole.
I never have learned how to play golf.
I don't know how to play
either.
golf.
I
I
would
don't
love
know.
to learn.
Yeah, you want to come too? It's down by Apex, but
Send me the info. I'll figure
Yeah.
it out. Maybe Derek will.
So,
when
like-
with all my free time, I'll figure it. But
right?
sometimes I have to literally pay a babysitter or a nanny to watch one kid because Luna goes to bed still at 7:30 so that I can take Cruz to the thing. So like it's not only the cost of the thing and the cost of the
Mhm.
supplies, it's
Mhm.
also the cost of the babysitting because I don't have a second parent.
Well, the other thing is, even with the second parent, like Cole just comes or Evan just comes. Like you're coming with us, whether or not, because we also run our own businesses, right? So like then we have to balance our own hobbies and interests and
Mhm.
how we want to spend our free time with how the kids are going to spend their free time. And I, as a person, take the parent part out of it, don't want to spend every weeknight going to a different sporting practice
Mhm.
Where you sit for an hour and a
where I
half.
sit for an hour and a half. Do you,
Well, yeah,
do you know
it's
how
not-
hard it is for me to sit for an hour and a half and like do nothing?
Very difficult. 'Cause this whole topic of like how much is too much. It's not just too much for the kid.
Right.
Uh-huh.
It's too much for us as parents. For the whole family.
The
Unit.
whole family
Like,
dynamic is changed by
Yeah.
it for sure.
yeah.
yeah, I hear that and I am living proof of that tension. But I also feel like our core value we filter everything through is kids. It's
Mhm.
like,
Mm.
what does my child need? Not want necessarily.
Yeah.
Want factors, but it's need.
Mhm.
What is good for them? And then I will make it happen.
To that question, I know we've talked in the past, right? Like Cruz, right? He doesn't want to miss out on anything. Like he wants to try all the things, but then also there are times where it becomes too much. Like, and this is a question for anybody, right? But at what point do you know when it's time to back off? Whether A, they want to, or B, they don't want to back off, but you see the need to pull back.
We did that. Cruz used to go 3 times a week and we went back to 2.
Okay.
He was getting stressed about his homework
Mm-hmm.
and he was just like
It's kind of like Calvin was
waking up early and
experiencing.
Yeah.
worried about getting it done. And he asked, actually, I would prefer not to go on Saturdays, but
Okay.
he liked that better. and Thursdays, like they don't generally have as much homework. It's like study for a test, which is pretty easy for him. So it was a matter of like balancing when during the week to his homework. But we've talked about like for a season, like we don't quit mid-season. Like that's a commitment team.
Agree.
If you're not sick and you don't want to play a game, like okay, but we will still go and cheer them on. Obviously, if they're sick or run down, like we skip. And we've also said, and this is maybe just us, but we've talked about like we don't quit on a bad day. Because sometimes there have been days where he's literally like skinned his leg on the diving board or like had a complete belly flop and he is just like filled with shame and so embarrassed and like doesn't want to go back. And I'm really proud of his resilience and the fact that he did, because he's gotten more comfortable with the uncomfortable now.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting you say you put the lens through like what's good for the kids. We definitely don't do that. That is not our family motto. It is more of what's good for the family unit as a whole, which includes mine and my husband's mental health along with that, right? And what we envision our future to look like and how we're going to, what we have to do now in order to reach that vision.
Yep.
So there's a lot more thought that goes into us for like how we are going to handle it. Right. Not necessarily whether they want to do the sport or not do the sport or do the activity, but like, how are we going to handle it if like we're stressed out about it? Like we're not good parents when we're stressed out to them.
There was a time where it was literally like Monday night gymnastics, Tuesday night diving, Wednesday night chess club, Thursday night diving, Friday night Luna has dance, Saturday is diving. Like it was a lot.
And it was all on you too.
It was all on me.
That's a lot.
And a sitter. Like I would then pay $20 an hour for help too.
Yeah.
But it also comes into like my hobbies. Like I have book club. I want to go to book club, right? And we can't do t-ball practice the same night as book club because by the time we get home from t-ball practice and dinner and all that stuff, like I'm exhausted and can't go to book club.
So do you guys make room for like everyone to have a thing?
Yes. Everybody is allowed to have at least one thing.
Okay.
Right? If you want more, there are some sacrifices we have to give up. So like for instance, Cole wanted to do t-ball also on top of tennis. And so I said, okay, well, that means some nights we're not going to do the full like bedtime routine because that means that typically after tennis, we're going to go get some food because I'm not cooking, or after t-ball, we're going to get some food somewhere because I'm not cooking. Then by the time that's over, like it's time to shower and go to bed. Like there's not a lot of extra time for reading books or doing a lot of other things. So those are decisions they make and choices they have to make and learn for.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm colored by my experience as a middle school teacher. I think a sense of community outside of family is really important in middle school and high school and even early college. And I don't mean by sport. I don't mean like good at a sport. But
no, like a third place.
Mandarin club or comic book writing or art, painting. Like I think having a sense of self is such an important way to build confidence and to build community. And they really, in my opinion, need that as adolescents, as teenagers. And I want to set them up for success in that way.
But it's so interesting you say that. I did not have sports or hobbies in high school. I didn't do activities in high school. I wasn't in clubs.
And how was your high school experience?
Well, my high school experience was to get out of there. But like I didn't want to do the things. Like it's not like they weren't options. Like I wasn't interested in them. I didn't want to do that. That's not who I was. My goal was I worked.
Like was that a choice to work instead of the clubs, or was working a necessity that just made it an easy, like I can't do the clubs because I'm working?
I think
not an easy, sorry, that's the wrong word.
No. I think for me it was a choice of like, what is my priority? Where do I see my future? I always had this like target I'm reaching towards, right? Like what is the aim? And like everything.
You were very driven from a very early age.
Right. And everything is like focused towards whatever the end result is. And for me, the end result was to get the hell out of there. So that did not include like, instead of doing cheerleading, which would have cost money and time and effort, I worked and I made that money and I saved and I bought a car and I did the other things to like go and leave. Or like instead of doing club, I did SAT prep courses, like so that I could get a better score. I could get a better score. I could get a better score.
How'd that work out?
So good. Florida education right here. So I could go to college and be the first person to go to college and like
But that
do
tracks because that put less emphasis or interest even on building community where you were
Because you want
But
versus
I did
laying
it.
the ground road, the foundation for where you wanted to go, right?
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of
But
sense.
I did cheerleading, dance, gymnastics, like all the things in elementary, middle school. But then when I got to high school, I was like, no, thank you.
Oh, interesting.
because you could work and make money.
Right. I could work and make money instead.
Yeah. I mean, that was my priority too, was
Yeah.
making money and working. But I did the like seasonal circuit, like what you talk about Ryan doing, and I wasn't good at any of it. I didn't like it. I was the one standing in outfield like, la-di-da.
Same. Like I played softball and their coaching to me was always like, make your batting thing as small as humanly possible. Like get as little as you can. So then like there's a zone for where you have to like pitching zone
The
or I
batting
don't know,
zone.
the batting zone, whatever
Yeah.
it is like real small. And it was always a ball they could walk to.
Strike zone is the word.
Yeah,
we're looking
whatever
for.
it was. I don't know. Obviously not a sports mom here, but like I did all the sports. My dad was in sports. My dad coached all the
Yeah.
sports. Like,
Yeah.
I did it. I didn't
Yeah.
like it. I didn't want to do
I
it.
didn't like it either until I found cheerleading. Then I liked it.
I loved
Yeah,
cheerleading.
I loved it too. I wish I would have found it a little bit sooner, but
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to do a lot of extracurriculars as a kid either
Interesting.
because my parents worked.
Mm.
Well,
They
and that
weren't
goes back
available.
into the like, as a parent, like, do you hold resentment that you didn't get to do those because your parents were too busy?
No, I don't. Like, I remember when I started choir in 4th grade, it was met before school. And my father was like, hell no, I'm not waking up early for you. I'm like, okay, cool, mom. And like, thankfully she took me. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
But thinking about that from a parent's boundaries, right? Like if you,
Right. He wasn't willing to give up his sleep.
right.
So
But
like,
like,
I resent him for that because he never gave up his sleep. So like, I kind of went without sometimes when I did want to do something, or it all fell on my mom, which makes me think of you, Jenny, like
yeah.
disproportionately doing a lot of that. And like that must have really sucked for her and been lonely even at times doing that. But they didn't make me keep doing things I didn't like it. They gave me a chance to try, you know, begrudgingly sometimes. But yeah, once it came around to like high school in particular, like they were pushing me to work and they were very supportive of me working. And I'm glad in a way they did. They don't realize that they like pushed me out by doing that. But yeah, when I started cheerleading, it was junior year of high school. And that was
So late.
Yeah, it was really late, but it was a whole thing because like I had to take 2 weeks off of work for our boot camp like in August. And my parents were like, what do you mean you're not working? I'm like, I mean, I'm not working.
Yep.
Like I'll use PTO where I can and get paid and take unpaid time. And they're like, what? I'm like, okay, well, let me just go, you know, do this thing for
I worked in restaurants. There's no PTO.
I was
like-
working at a software company.
Yeah. There's no
In high
PTO.
school?
2004, I started working at Bentley
That's
Systems.
really impressive.
Yeah, my mother got me an internship,
Yeah.
a paid internship, and I just kept working there all through high school and college.
I do wonder about our experiences and how they shape us today because I distinctly remember going to ballet before kindergarten.
Wow.
And I thought I was just like up early, but come to find out it was a half day kindergarten and I was in the afternoon half. So I would go to dance in the morning and then go to like, or I remember,
You had a stay-at-home parent, so
I
you
had
could
a
do
stay-at-home
half-day
parent.
kindergarten.
yeah.
Ah.
And I remember our middle school was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade specifically because my parents didn't want me very young for my grade in a high school. And then in 9th grade, I made the varsity cheerleading team. So I had to leave school early to get
Mhm.
bused to the high school to make my practice. And so much of my experience as a teenager was definitely around extracurriculars because that was my way out. That
Mhm.
was my way to have any sense of independence and freedom.
Seems like a
Interesting.
running theme.
And mine was like working
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
to like do my own thing.
Yeah, I don't know. But to get back to Tania's point, like I do think there's something about kids, any human really, moving their body on the regular every day, like doing something. And I do worry about younger generations, like just not being as active and what that
Becoming
means for
so
them.
sedentary.
Mhm.
But you
So-
say
but
that, but
doesn't
I
mean to be
remem-
sports.
But I remember like sitting and watching cartoons and TV after school every day and like,
But you had recess
and
during
your
the
family
day.
is also naturally incredibly thin. Let's talk.
yeah. But like, but in general, like I remember
Playing in the puddles and jumping off the bridges.
Maybe
You know?
you'd be more coordinated as
Maybe.
an adult if you
But, like, my mother will listen to this and be like, I paid for her to go to dance lessons for
We believe
20
you, Donna.
years and she
Yeah.
still can't even stand without falling over.
Well, that's what you just said about Evan and swimming.
Right. But
That
that's my
doesn't feel
point.
good to hear that.
But
and
that's my
also-
point is that it's like it wasn't something
Your thing.
for me.
There are additional benefits to team sports that go beyond the physical benefits too. Learning how to perform within a team, learning how to cope with pressure, cope with anxiety, to learn how to support other people and cheer other people on, to learn how to lose gracefully, right? Like there are definitely a lot of other elements that the sports do introduce to them from an early age, depending on when you start, that I see value in, right? And so if it's not a traditional sport, finding other ways to maybe access some of those pieces, right? Like for me growing up, I was the youngest of 3 kids, God bless my parents, but I still remember we did different, like my sister and I did dance for a while. My brother did soccer from a very early age and showed great aptitude. He was an incredible soccer player. And so then all 3 of us played soccer forevermore, right? I played like 7 seasons of soccer that I did not want to do
Because of him.
a single season.
They were already there.
But I get it.
Yeah.
I get it now, right? As an adult, I totally understand why they streamlined. Not only like I know they were probably there from sun up to sundown.
Oh my God.
But at least you only had to figure out one kind of equipment, right? You only had to
Soccer
learn
has
the
very limited equipment.
right? You could pass down the equipment from child to child. So like I understand it now, but man, I did not like it at all. And so I brought that kind of lens to like I didn't want to force him to do a sport that he didn't want to do, but then I learned too, right? Once I think I did volleyball in middle school. That was the first team, like school sport I ever did. It was maybe 1 season of that. And then in high school, I did the tennis team in my freshman year because it wasn't everybody playing together. Like I was not good at soccer. I didn't want the whole team there. Tennis was like a one-on-one, but you were also on a team. Like your score contributed to the team score, but it felt like less pressure for some reason. And then I still was not great at that because I am not the athlete per se. Like I can hold my own, but I'm not going to excel in any of them.
Pickleball together.
We
I would
play
love to
pickleball.
learn. I don't know how.
You put me on a ping pong table and I will.
I would love to play you in ping pong. I only recently learned pickleball is like mini tennis wiffle ball.
Yeah.
Like ping pong.
I did not know what it was for the longest
But
time.
it's interesting because you're like my husband. He only plays individual sports. Like he played tennis, which is an individualized sports. He did run club, individual sport, like cross country, individual sports. Like he is not a team player. And even today, he doesn't do like team sports.
Well, and then there's the non-traditional routes. Like I ended up getting into rock climbing. My brother we went on a family trip. We did a rock climbing outing, like a guided outing as a family. And my brother and I were like, yes, this is the thing. And so then my brother and I started climbing, right? And so like I started working at a climbing gym because I was there all the time anyway. And that became an amazing outlet. And I did competitions, but I was never, they're like rock climbing teams now that you can get involved in too. That wasn't as prevalent when I was growing up, but I loved it. Like it got me so in tune with my body. It developed my muscles in incredible ways, but there was no pressure. And that was the sweet spot for me. Like it was a great outlet because I just got to do, and I was only against myself, you know, like if I failed or succeeded in a route, like it was only against myself. And it was really, really nice. And I got the community aspect too, right? And then if I chose to do a competition, then I kind of learned, you know, the heartbreak of if you don't do well or if you don't place or whatever else. But there are definitely lots of options out there that don't have to be the traditional route. I do see the benefit of it though.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of values that like need to be learned. And for us, because we're not doing those things, I have to look for other ways to like teach those same things, like the losing gracefully you mentioned. Been struggling a lot with that lately in our house.
Still struggling with that. So,
and I know it's a long time thing that's going to keep being
we
worked
do
on.
it in card games.
Yeah, I was just going to say we play a lot of like card games now. Calvin is excellent at card games. Like he's really good.
Oh, I kick their ass in slapjack at least once a week on purpose.
Calvin
to like
beats all of us, and I try to beat him.
Oh,
like Bob cannot win against me or Calvin. It's not his thing as much, but he plays along like for fun. But like me and Calvin, like we will go at it. Like
slapjack,
spit usually.
Oh yeah.
Or rummy. He likes to be kind of a smart ass with rummy.
Yeah.
But we have to like learn those things. Like he got into some shit with Derek the other day, like being a sore loser. So like gotta teach those skills somehow. Yeah. And I think Jenny, back to your original point, like to wrap it all back together, like it's different for every kid. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's those values, it's those skills, like somehow they gotta learn it. They're just all going to learn
lots of different ways to get there.
Yep.
And I do think like how you speak about it matters. Like I try really hard to just say, I love watching you play, or I love watching you dive. And someone, I don't remember who I read or heard, like don't ever use a verb. You don't want to be a coach. It's just like, so literally, I'm only like, I loved watching you do whatever it is you're doing. And I've spent a lot of time like pointing out, there was one like 12-year-old girl who was like up on a handstand from like 10 meter about to flip off and fell, like not down, but like up there. And then she had to like collect herself and go up in a handstand again. And I still remember that conversation with Cruz, like, look at that. That is really impressive to me. That is a lot of, so like I try to like model what I praise. Like, I don't know yet if it's been very successful.
My kids are compliment seekers.
Not I'm so glad you won.
No,
Never.
Never. And even with swimming, like it's so hard, right? Because you're there and you're like, yay, you're really into the team. We love the apex breakers. Like, yeah, you're cheering on each other. But I try, it's not always successful, to like look at your time that you did on the breaststroke last time. Let's look at your time this time. Like, focus him on himself. Because when we're not is where we get into trouble with his personality.
But I guess my question back was like, what is the harm with saying like, I'm glad you placed second. You did a really good job. Like that was really, I'm really proud of you there.
I think saying that without acknowledging the effort overemphasizes the win.
The message becomes I have to win to get the praise.
But is it, well, you get the praise no matter what, but isn't it like you still do the praise? Like,
I think
can you
both.
still praise and say,
yes,
I'm glad, like you placed second.
As long as you also praise even if they lose.
Right.
I think that, yes.
Yeah.
But
if the praise only comes when they win, it can be problematic.
But there should be some emphasis on winning. Aren't you playing to win? Like, aren't you there to also win?
I don't personally feel that.
Like
that silence
but like
is heavy.
it's interesting though
I
because,
don't agree.
because you're talking about professional sporting events where people are winning, like your big UNC you
Sure.
watch the games, there's somebody you're always saying like, this
That's
team won,
fair.
you're rooting for a winning team, you're rooting for somebody to win. Why are we not rooting for them to win also?
I mean, of course, inside, I'm always rooting for them to win. But my key value, right, is doing what is best for my child and making them a good, well-developed person with all of these skills. And my kids, at least Cruz, I don't know about Luna yet, can get hyper-focused on not feeling good enough. And so I have to be very, very careful what I praise.
I don't think we're at the point yet either where it's about winning. It's still very early days, like developing the skills, learning how to do the other things. And I think that time will come, but I don't think, at least for my kids, they're not like developmentally ready to be focused on the winning part. And I see how much Calvin struggles with like not doing well on like a test. And it's like, okay, but you got 98 out of 100. Like, so you did great. Like you did your best. So
yeah, I mean, I will say there's a lot of like, you know, Cole has aptitude and also practices. Like he's out there, we were all just out there playing with the kids. He's out there with his bat and his ball practicing the sport. And there's many times that we're like, you're doing such a good job or whatever. And Evan will be like, I'm not good at that. And I was like, well, you don't practice.
Yeah, that's a good lesson.
You don't actually go out there and practice. You're not going to be good at it because you don't practice, you don't play it, you don't do it.
And that's
I think that's
praising
valid.
Cole's
Yeah,
effort.
to be devil's advocate, though, per your own description, and I'm not saying I agree, even if he did, he wouldn't be as
But
good
he
at-
doesn't even at all.
Even if he did, you're saying he
Has he already learned to not try
Yeah.
at this point?
because he doesn't get the praise for being
He gets the praise
Right.
for, we give him praise no matter what he does. Like when he played soccer and he got smashed in the face by the soccer ball.
One day we'll get permission to post the
Yeah,
video.
we will.
The best.
But we praise him like you did a good job. Like
Yeah, he was
even though
tough.
you weren't paying attention and you got hit in the face with a ball, you saved that ball. Like you did a good job.
Unconventional save.
Right. But like the point was though that like you didn't let the other team score. Also, right? Like you did a good job, but you also
You
didn't
helped
let
your
the-
team. You
helped
supported
the
your
team. But that's a winning part, right?
Yeah.
Also, like when he plays and he doesn't do anything like that, we're also like, good job, you did a good job running, or you did a good job keeping up with the team, or you did a good job participating. But we do extra emphasis when they're doing something that is like a winning mentality or doing something that's going to like put them further into the like first place or whatever of that sport, because isn't that part of the point?
Yeah, to some extent, it definitely is.
I still personally try, not always successful, to focus on like the growth, the process, the skills they're showing, and not the output.
Coming from a perspective of a kiddo who still really struggles with losing, like gracefully.
Yeah.
Still not in our wheelhouse yet.
Yeah.
I tell him on a regular basis, I would rather you learn how to be a graceful loser than to be
A sore winner
a
all the
sore
time.
winner.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be that kid. I don't want you to see that as important, right? And so from where and again, this is going to be every kid
Yeah.
is going to need a different emphasis, a different approach potentially. I do think that the fact that we put them into team sports, someone's going to win, someone's going to lose.
Right.
So that's definitely always been a discussion. But to me, it is about the character building that it brings more so than a winner's mentality.
The lesson of not everyone can win can be character building too.
Yeah. And like when we're watching professional, like hockey, right? Like that's one sport that we watch as a family. And he's like, I hope they lose. And I was like, absolutely not. Reframe that, please. I hope our team wins.
Yes, we do the
Mhm.
same.
And I know it may sound silly, but to me, it makes a difference of if you are rooting for someone versus rooting against. Like
Yeah.
hoping someone loses is not a mentality that I want him to put a high level of importance on.
Yeah.
In life.
I
agreed.
just had a flashback to a cheerleading competition.
Oh.
Yeah. No, don't make that face.
Good one?
It's a good flashback, yes, to like watching others stunting and hoping for good outcomes for
Yeah.
them. And that
Yeah.
stuck with me because I don't want anyone to get hurt.
Absolutely.
Sure, I want to do it better than you, but like, please don't get hurt because that looks hard.
Yeah, but I still think the other point is important. Like, you still want to do it better.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I think that's the part that we might disagree on here is that I want my kids to understand that even if they're playing a sport, your goal is to be better at it, to do well at it, to try really hard at it. And you may not always win, but the goal is to keep practicing and do better so that you can win.
Yeah. And especially when there is a team, we do talk about the fact that there are people relying on you
Yeah.
to show up,
Mm-hmm.
to give your best, right? And you may not win, but as long as you actually truly engage, you do practice, you do put the time in, you do put the energy in, and you cheer on your teammates, right? That is the core values that we're instilling. If they happen to win because of all those things, amazing. If they lose despite doing all of those things, amazing.
Yeah.
It's when the character piece is lacking and they only care about the drive and the winning, that's when you get the people who take the cheap shots. And then you get the parents that are 40 and 50 years old screaming at children because they aren't taking their sport seriously enough, right? Like that's the mentality I see like in the future that comes from this heavy focus on you have to be the best. And if you're not the best, then you're the worst, right? And maybe that's a big jump, but that's how I see it.
Yeah. When I think about the diving meet just this past weekend, if for 1 meter, Cruz moved up to like the junior Olympic, like older kids, much more competitive. And I was a little worried about it because he's used to being in a slightly easier division, if you
Mhm.
will. He got 14th out of 14 in 1 meter. And all I cared about was how is he? Like, how is he doing? He was so pumped. His favorite diving friend, Charlie, got first place. And he was so proud of himself for like a certain thing. Like, look, Mom, I pointed my toes. And I was,
Mhm.
thank God, because you never know the conversation
Yeah.
you're going to have.
Mhm. And the fact
Especially
that he
for a
got
child
bumped
who's
up.
used to winning. Yeah, 11 and under. He said.
Yeah.
And then 3 meter, he got second. So in my head, I want to freak out and be like, oh my God, you got second. This huge meet. Like people from many states come like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Is what I want to say. I didn't.
But why not?
Because there are
kind of
so many
undercuts the other
days
one.
when he doesn't.
Well,
get
and
up
he
there.
has a demonstrated track record of struggling with the anxiety that
The
goes along
demonstrated
with
track
it.
record of struggling.
So that's a knowing her child
And- yeah.
situation.
And he and our coach, before he went for 3 meter, again, quite high, he's lost a lot of confidence. There was a competition recently where he scratched. He would not go up on the 3 meter. He was scared of embarrassing himself. And so his coach said, let him pick his dives. He gave himself an easier list. He executed well. He was very proud of himself and he left with confidence and peace at this like event that had been really stressing him out to the point of puking before. Like that is success. And then he said to me, Mom, I think I want to do my 1.5 next time. I was like, great. It's a flip. Right. So like,
it's playing the long game.
But like,
playing the
can
long
there
game.
also be at the same time saying like, you got second, you should be proud of that.
I mean, yes, I think with my child, and you have to be specific to what your kids need, like I have to be really careful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I know this episode was primarily about scheduling and families, but I think that a big part of our kids' age, and then also as they get into high school, sports are a huge part of the scheduling
Yeah.
part, right? And so I think this has been an amazing discussion. Like, is there anything else that we want to say about the scheduling piece before we wrap up? Or
I think we're house divided on it. But I think it's important to do, again, like Jenny says, what's important for your family goals. Like if your family goal is what's best for the kid or what's best for the whole family unit, you got to decide what's best for each family as a whole.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that wraps up our episode of this week's Shepack Unleashed. Of course, we hope you enjoyed it. We would love to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah, like what's your opinion on scheduling kids in sports? If you enjoyed it, follow us on social media, comment on these posts, let us know what you think is too much or not enough, or how you handle the winning and losing of sports.
I'm sure people have thoughts on
yeah.
thing.
And follow us on social media at Shepack Unleashed.
Thank you, as always, for being a part of our pack.
This is Ashley, Nichole, Jenny, and Tania signing off. Stay wild and fierce.